Hey everyone, we're back. Me and Serena, we're live, even though this is pre-recorded, so technically it's not live.
It's live for us now.
It's close. It's live for us right now. The anxiety is real. Today we're going to review one scene from The Green Mile. But before we get into that, this is Different Spectrums, the podcast. Most of y'all already know what we do. We're breaking down certain scenes, specific scenes, to help folks normalize, understand, and kind of relate to some of the clips to where they can learn and grow from them, especially if they're not the best with the words or they're not the best telling people on how they feel. So that's the whole goal of the podcast. Introducing Serena as one of our co-hosts that has hopped on the pod with us, licensed professional counselor in the state of Minnesota. And then, of course, you got me, the Grand Poobah, the Pooh Bear, Nazir, licensed clinical social worker, state of Indiana. And today, like I said, we're going over Green Mile. Oh, I was supposed to do the weird thing where we're like the different spectrums thing. We're just going to say different spectrums and lean in. Yeah, there we go. That's good enough, Spencer. So we're going to go over the Green Mile. This was requested by one of my students. They want to do something else. I couldn't get that to work, so now we're going to do the Green Mile. Specifically, where Tom Hanks, we're going to focus on Tom Hanks' character when he has to touch, probably should have got the dude's name. Where he has to touch the inmates, the really big dude. He has to touch his hand, and then he's able to visualize and see what actually happened in those traumas. And so we're going to really talk about empathy, trauma, and those that are listening to these traumatic stories, but also those that live these traumatic stories. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we get into the clip, we got a new TikTok. So I want people to go watch the TikTok. We're dumping all the reels from Instagram onto TikTok. So if you're on Instagram, you're already seeing all the material. TikTok will just be another avenue for us to grow as a podcast. We appreciate all the shares. The original goal was 7,000 by January 1st. We should be closer to the 8,000 by January 1st now. That's the trajectory. Thanks to one of my students recommending we do Steven Universe that literally just went on fire. Have you ever seen Steven Universe, Serena, or no?
No.
It's like this really cute cartoon, and everyone loves it. Everyone loves it.
I'll have to watch it now.
Yeah, everyone loves it. It was older, like when we were in like middle school, I think it was out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into this clip. We're gonna chop it up. We're gonna talk about it. I'll put it in the title, but also trigger warning for this. For some folks, you won't be able to see the visuals, because it's a lot of just Tom Hanks just kind of making noises if you're on the podcast side. But there will be, there is an explanation on how this inmate did murder 2 young children. And then there's probably some other things that happened as well. So trigger warning for sexual assault and then just child abuse for those folks. If you don't want to pay attention to that or those emotions, then this will be a podcast that you skip. I'll put this in the title as well. Okay, now with all that, this will be a serious pod. Man, let's get into it.
I punished them bad men. I punished them both.
Why? Why, Wild Bill?
I saw in his heart when he grabbed my arm. I saw what Wild Billy done. It's all plain as day. You can't have what's in your heart.
What? You saw what?
Take my hand, boss. You see for yourself.
Huh? No.
Please.
No. Please.
I got to, boss. I got to give you a little bit of myself. A gift. A gift of what's inside of me so you can see for yourself.
heard you, Mama. Come on, Billy. I worked you enough for one day. Come get you some supper.
You love your sister. You're making a noise. You know what happens? I'm gonna kill her instead of you. You're making a noise. I'm gonna kill her. You understand? You understand?
He kill them with they love. They love each other. Now you see how it is. That's the way it is every day. That's the way it is all over the world.
So we're back. Again, shout out to one of the students at Purdue, Nyla, for suggesting the video. We got some other suggestions that are coming up too. Fan requests and throughout December and January, a lot of fan requests coming through. So let's get into the scene. Serena, I almost called you Dominique. Serena.
One or the other.
Yeah, you wanted the women on the pod. I'm sure you haven't seen this movie in a long time. I haven't seen it since I was like I said, middle school.
No, yeah, it's definitely been a long time. But I actually, oh my God, I just watched Forrest Gump like a week ago,
Oh,
and
see?
this totally had me just thinking about like, oh, some of these movies and how they pull at your heartstrings and all the variety of emotions.
Oh,
I do enjoy it, as horrific I think as this scene is, and I think it's saddening and both anger provoking.
yep.
It's kind of a great thing to have those emotional experiences, or that movies can pull those from us. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, like this was a good one.
When I first watched this scene, when they suggested a different scene, the student, and then I went and looked at some other ones, I was a puddle watching this one. And I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
So it was good acting, man.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that actor, I have the name here, pretty sure he passed away a few years ago. Let me go and look. I can't tell. Yep, he died in 2012. A long time ago.
Yeah.
So I thought so. Michael Duncan. Yeah, there's some good movies, man, back in them days. And then Tom Hanks, I don't know if he's in any really crappy movies.
No, he had some good ones for sure.
They-
Just when I watched Forrest Gump, I was like, oh my God, this is such a good movie.
Such
I
a good
forgot
movie.
how good it
The
is.
funny thing is, what they say about Tom? He's one of the few humans in the world where like everyone likes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone likes him, and they said, "What Keanu?" They said those are the untouchables.
Yeah.
That's funny. Forrest Gump. We need to review that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. But anywho, okay.
Yep.
This one, thoughts for this one. Honestly, the biggest thought that came to me, which is I'm going to kind of take it in like an abstract direction, because there's a lot to the scene to pull from, but where my mind actually took me was like with the helping profession. And then also I've had a lot of clients lately talking about the fatigue of being a support person. And so it kind of brought my mind there. And then I had also thought too, just the amount of trauma that we're all absorbing in the sense of bad news. Sometimes even I have to just avoid being on my phone, because I will just have like horrible news stories
Yep.
of like kids drowned or this happened.
All the shootings. It's me and Spencer just got talking about it. on a Jingle All the Way Christmas movie.
Yeah.
He's like, people sick, man, sick. And then there's a lot of nasty stuff. So you're right.
I know. And so there was a big part of when John Coffey, when he was like, this is what it's like this is the experience that it might not have been what he meant in that moment. But for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like we can all relate to absorbing bad news. And I feel like it's even more than ever because it's so easily accessible now. And I think it has a big impact on us of just mood. I mean, there were times I would really get actually angry or sad and kind of feelings like this, like the world is messed up, everything's crazy, I can't trust anyone. And I think those add into, having a more difficult time forming relationships or being able to trust other people. So I was just thinking about that experience of like, we're all exposed to kind of what John's experience was at a ridiculous level now. And then of course being a therapist, thinking about and really for any helping person, honestly, I've been working with a lot of RAs who come in and I tell them, I'm like, you're like the frontline workers of caregivers because you're on call all the time.
Yep.
You're always accessible. At least I can walk out of my office and close the door. So I just think there's something here that all helping people could relate to of just the general fatigue or having to build skills to kind of shut it off because you're just absorbing too much trauma or too much negativity. And so the importance here of knowing how to turn it off or how to go, you know what, right now I can't look at the news. I'm already in a vulnerable place, or I'm already feeling fragile. I'm already feeling sad and feeling like this world is going crazy. I don't need to turn on the news right now. I'm already there. Yep. So just having that awareness and how to turn it off or when to set those boundaries.
Yep. So I'm gonna do my best Spencer impersonation. I feel like I did not say that word right.
Impersonation.
I said impersonation. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It's usually me, so I'm surprised I caught that.
Yeah, you were like, damn, he's dumb. Jesus. I forgot the question I was gonna ask. Oh, so how do you know when you're at that limit?
Honestly, like my mood, or I start having just more negative thoughts. Like I'll notice even if I'm driving, I'll start assuming of like people are judging me or like they cut me off intentionally, or I mean, it could be anything like that. I will just start noticing more negative thoughts or being like, oh, they did that because of this. And then I'm like, did they? Or, did they just make a little mistake and it has nothing to do with me?
Okay, so a little bit more intrusive thoughts, but then also a little bit like paranoid, not paranoia, but a little bit more like feeling judged and like people are watching you type of vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, it's when you just kind of, well, I'm just like, fuck it, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like you'll talk to certain clients and you'll be like, well, this is fucking pointless. I don't even know why I do this job because everyone's hurt and miserable and sad and traumatized and
I can relate to that too.
All these people being assaulted, and so sometimes us as counselors get trapped in this world where like we see this third of the population that has a lot of horrible experiences, and we forget that all the other ones are actually kind of succeeding and thriving, but we don't see those in our office.
Yeah.
Or
like where you have a week of just everything's going wrong for everyone and you're like, oh no. And then it takes usually to turn the curve is like someone comes in and they're like, it's actually going okay. And you're like, it is, it's okay. And then it starts, you're like, okay, things happen for a reason. I always bring it back to life experiences. And I try to remind myself, I don't know if this is healthy or not, or very cheesy, but I try to remind myself of like, negative emotions are an experience of life and they're not, we group them in as to bad and very negative and we shouldn't have them. But I try to remind myself so much of like, if I didn't have a moment of despair, or if I don't have a moment of, wow, this really sucks, I'm not going to fully enjoy the good moments. Mm-hmm. Like all of my worst moments made my good moments that much better.
I agree.
And I know that's like maybe a silver lining type of, but that has gotten me through so much.
Yes and no. Silver lining would be like, well, you went through that trauma, but like there's this one tiny good thing you're saying is that these traumatic experiences, the depressive thoughts, the reciprocal of that becomes so much more gratifying. You're so much more appreciative. So right when you finally make it through that struggle, or you're going through the struggle, and then you get through it, and you're like, "Holy shit, I did it!"
Yeah. And it can be the most mundane things, like when you're sick or you have like a really stuffy nose and it finally goes away. You're like, oh, breathing through my nose is the best
Is
thing
real.
ever. I didn't appreciate it.
Correct. So now take that with severe depression, severe anxiety, being neurodivergent, just kind of weird and awkward. Not that everyone is, but most of us are. Right. Take that with suicidality, and then it's just finally gone. I've had clients of mine that have like got on medication for like severe depression, anxiety, or like OCD, and they're like, "This is how normal people are."
Yeah.
They're like, "Why didn't you try this sooner?" I was like, "I tried to give it to you sooner and get you to the doctor. You kept telling me no, you bastard." I remember this one human. First medicine, second medicine, third medicine, fifth medicine made them sick.
Oh, yeah.
Correction, fourth medicine made them sick. Fifth one worked. And they were like, Jesus Christ. And I was like, there you go.
Worth it.
Worth
It
it.
takes a long time, but
Worth
yeah.
it. I feel like I always tell students it's on average. You know, you might try right around 3. I feel like the average is 3. Some people work on the first one, but it's usually, you got to switch it a few times.
Yeah.
To get that right cocktail, that right mixture of potion.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to that empathy stuff, like I said, mine is when I'm like, just there's no point. And like you said, you get to that point as well. And here's where it was. I had to backtrack because the ADHD is I'll have like those bad weeks like you do. Like it's just a lot of trauma stuff. And you get punched in the gut from one, and then, okay, I can handle one, then maybe 2 more in the same day, or maybe a couple more later in the week, and you're like, well, damn. And you're just spent. So I'll hit a Wednesday afternoon, and I'll just cry in my office for like a few minutes, and then I'll be good. I'll go home, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So here's a funny story. I was working with a human, neurodivergent individual, wonderful human, and they were talking about this other stuff, and hey, I met this person. It looks good. And then I met this person a month later. Hey man, this is never really been in like love before. And like, this is really good. And they're just happy and bubbly. I started crying.
Oh.
They're not even crying. They're just happy and cheesing like you are. And I just started crying. He's like, what's wrong with you?
You're like, I'm just so happy for you.
I'm just so happy that one of you got a relationship.
Yes. That it worked out. Everything's okay.
I know.
But it's true when you're getting, I mean, the exact same of like looking at the news when you're just seeing bad. You put those glasses on of like, oh, everything's bad right now. And all it takes is that little change of like, wait, here's a happy story. Wait,
this is a really happy story. I felt so bad. I felt like maybe they thought I was like patronizing them or some shit. Like, was I that messed up to where I couldn't get real love?
Yeah.
And I know this human knows other humans that I work with. And so I was like, great. All the other ones are going to be like, well, Naz didn't cry when I gave them good news. Not knowing that it's all the other shit throughout the week that made me cry in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're humans too. And I think there's so many people out there like helping people or, I mean, it could literally be anything. Having a sibling that's struggling, having a parent that's struggling, and that fatigue and that burnout, you feel like nothing I'm doing is helping. Or, everything's going wrong right now. This is never going to get better. And then just that one moment. And then I think everything clicks in and all those emotions come out.
They do. I've had those joyous emotions all the time. The compassion fatigue. Not sure if I've been real close many times, but I usually can manage and I usually can get through it because I have a decent amount on my caseload that are doing well and healthy. Mm-hmm. I try to book my Fridays to where it's a lot of individuals that are doing really good.
Yeah.
Or they're less severe. I try to book the ones that I'm just kicking it with now. We're doing check-ins and I've known them for a long time, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I'll put them at the lunch, at the 11 o'clock so it can bleed into lunch if I want to. Or I'll put them at the 4 o'clock and it can bleed into 5:10, 5:15. And a couple of my humans know I do that. The elder statesmen that I work with, right? Like the older, the PhDs, they ain't going nowhere. I've known them for multiple years. Like, you booking me before lunch this time? I said, yeah, I'll get the coffee ready. We'll sit down here. We'll drink some coffee. We'll be good.
Yeah.
Now, if any of my other humans listen to this, how come I don't get that treatment? Because you too fucked up.
Whoopsie. Bleep.
Edit. I'm not editing that. But yeah, I fix and manage my schedule. I think if we go back to what you were talking about, is people to know when they're starting to get that burned out. So I do, and also pre-program in spaces where you can get that comfort, that joy. It's also knowing your boundaries. So when you go home as a counselor, as a teacher, as a healthcare provider, as a parent that's just getting killed at work and now killed at home, where can you find those little pockets? Is it in the mornings? Like, I think you told me in your schedule, you like to wake up super early. That way it's just your time.
Yep. That's mine for sure.
Yeah, if you didn't just have that time, and let's say you just slept,
No,
then
it wouldn't serve me. I need, that is like how I decompress, and I just take my time, walk around, get ready. It's the best. I'm telling you, that sets my day in a positive direction more often than not.
Don't you play streams, or not stream, but don't you play games sometimes in the morning too, or no?
Not if it's early, like if it's a weekend morning.
Okay.
Yes, that is my favorite time because there's no kids, no distraction.
Yep.
It's just me doing my little hobby, having fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you like to get it started early. I've always been the night owl. Everything's quiet.
Yeah.
And no drama. Everyone's asleep, and I can just zone out and do my homework or grind out editing things for the podcast. When I was younger in college, it was the same as well. People would be out doing stuff. Or I'd go get a workout in at like 11 o'clock, midnight when I was in graduate school and college. And there'd just be a handful of people in there. And it's kind of cool to think about everyone else is sleeping and you're grinding.
Yeah.
So it's peaceful. It's like why I like the winter. When it's super snowy out, it's quiet.
Yes, I do love that too.
I like the quietness of it. It's just so much more tranquil. Statistically, that's true because there's less crimes and violent crimes that happen in the winter because everyone's just stuck in their house.
Yeah. Like, it's cold out there. I'm not going to go. No crimes today.
Yeah. I can't get kicked out the house because I ain't got nowhere to go.
True.
Yeah. Compassion fatigue. It's a real thing amongst counselors, caregivers, like I said, even parents. Some of our humans, I remember I had a couple on-call phone calls and it would be like roommates worried about their other roommate. And you can see where it's killing them.
Yeah.
And they're worried and they're crying and I don't know what to do. So you try to help them navigate the other person getting into therapy or going to call the emergency room so they can get hospitalized. You can only take on so much as that. If you got a job, you got kids, and then you're trying to take on someone else's trauma, be careful with that.
Yeah.
Be careful with that. Support and advise people to seek support. It's like when people hit me up on the Instagram. Ethically, I can't provide any real substantial therapeutic things, but I can say like one or two things, like validate and listen to people when they send me DMs. And then also, you might need to call some numbers and look into some help. A human hit me up yesterday. Well, they just said, I appreciate your page so much and it's been awesome. You know, I locked myself in my room because I'm just depressed. And then I found your podcast weeks ago and it's just fun to go on Instagram and laugh and also relate. They said also because I'm having a lot of intrusive thoughts. And I said, sorry to hear that. A few other things. If you need immediate support, please call 988.
Yeah.
The person texted me a few days day later and they said, what's 988? I'm like... So I screenshotted that it's the suicide hotline number. It's good information for people to know. You don't have to remember that long ass number that Logic had for the suicide hotline, and literally 988. And no matter where you are in the United States, remember this. It's going to connect you back with the person or the center that's closest to your area code in your cell phone number. So if you're in California, but your area code's 313 from Detroit, you're going to be connected to the hotline center in Detroit, just as a heads up.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool service.
Yeah.
Right? You can text it or you can call. Good things for people to know. Compassion fatigue, it's a thing. There's a way to set boundaries. There's a way to show that you care because people be like, well, this is my best friend.
I know.
Well, I didn't tell you to cut them off, you knucklehead.
Yeah.
But you can't take all of their stuff and do your stuff.
I try to loophole my helper people, and by time like you're cheating on the experience of building the skills.
That's a good
And
one.
that's usually then they're like, oh shoot, because I'm like, you can't do the legwork here for them.
I
You
like
can
that.
support and encourage and stuff like that, but if you're doing the work for them, now you're putting yourself in that role. And almost always what happens is that person gets fatigued, they get frustrated, and then they can't show up as a good helping person for that individual, or they get angry at them, or however it comes
Yep,
out.
they can get resentful.
Totally. So it's
Also, if
like,
the person's a little personality disorder, they can trap them into where one's the victim and the other one's the rescuer.
yep.
So that's not good
Yep.
either. I like that. You trap them in there. In actuality, you're being selfish and helping them out, so you're actually making them worse.
Honestly, and sometimes like helping people, they just want to do and fix and make everyone okay. But in doing and fixing, sometimes we're not actually helping. It feels like helping, but it's an illusion of helping, because now we're stuck in this role. They're not building skills.
Yep.
So that's why I try to remind people, like, this isn't in your control. What's in your control? You can comfort them. You can call and check in. You can provide resources, but you can't do the actual
Correct.
legwork of it.
You can
Which
body
is
double.
so frustrating, but
Oh, super. You can try and body double with those resources and sit there while they call.
yeah.
While they make these phone calls or emails. I do that a lot with clients. I can't make these calls for you, but I will sit online right now over the phone and you can, okay. That'll happen.
Yeah.
Damn, I had something. Well, I was going to joke. Oh, gendered. Listen, we can talk about gendered stuff because you're talking about helping people. So normally folks don't just come out of the womb just like, I'm going to help people. That's not a thing. Sometimes it's because of our role models that we've seen grow up. Sometimes it could be out of religious things where we just want to care, provide, nurture, philanthropy. It's like our calling to see people grow. Sometimes, a lot of the time, you also see it come out of trauma, though. So you'll see a dynamic in the household where you ended up having to be this caregiver, this provider. We see a lot of our young women and femme presenting folks that are put into this gendered expectation to be a caregiver, such as nursing or counseling. And then you got all the boys. They don't have to do this stuff. Some of them do. A lot of my boys will do their caregiving through solutions focused. So what's the solution? It's not like, let's listen, support. I'm like, I want to tell you what's wrong.
Yep.
And you're going to fix
You're
it.
gonna fix it. You go do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But when you're trying to like validate someone's emotions first, you need to step back because you will get into a lot of arguments with your partner if you just try to fix everything.
Yeah.
So that's something good to know. The gender roles play a big impact on us and how we like take care of folks. Also, like I said, the traumas. So if you got a mother or father that's going through it, a mom that's a single mom doing her thing and struggling, if you got a younger brother or an older sibling like has mental health issues or severe depression, maybe some type of disability, you're going to kind of go into those caregiving, nurturing roles because you have to provide it to whoever else is in the family, and so it can change you. So are you the actual caregiving person? Are you those traumas that made you like that? Did you choose that, or is that just kind of who you are? Because a lot of my caregivers, they'll be like, I don't even want to do this shit, but like I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
My clients that have a lot of siblings and they're like the eldest,
Oh yeah.
they fall into that caregiver role as well a lot.
I'm doing it. Yep.
That's a thing because they don't really know who they are unless they're like helping someone. I'm like, so let's go back to your childhood and like try to have some fun things. A lot of my strong women of color fall into that category where there's just a lot of nurturing and caring that goes on. And so like, let's do some fun stuff for us. They're like, I ain't got time for that.
Well, we're gonna make it. That's the other trap I do is like, I'm not gonna change you or take that experience away from you. I'm just asking you to add yourself to that equation. So you're helping everyone else and you're helping yourself. And that looks like taking breaks to do fun things, de-stressing.
Creative things, fun things. I got some humans I'm working with now that are older, got children, 3, 4, stuff like that. And they're just now having fun.
Yeah.
Because the kids are having fun. So they're doing this Sesame Street stuff and watching all these Disney shows and all that. And I'm forcing them. Sometimes I'll be like, you're not doing that shit. You're doing this shit with the kids. And they're like, You don't control me. And I was like, oh, well, I'll check in next week. I know you're going to do exactly what I say, so whatever. Because we have that bond, me and a couple of my women of color I work with. Because they need to go back into that place to where they're not worried about everyone else in the family and they can just have fun with their kids.
Totally.
They're just having fun. They're like with you and your kid. Like,
oh, big time. Doing like playing Play-Doh, watching like, kids movies. There was so much healing that came through raising my own kids and just being in the moment with them or getting an opportunity to play and not be
all the stuff.
Future or past tripping. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my humans said that they bedazzled something the other day. I'm like, you, the businesswoman, bedazzled something. I'm like, you better not tell your coworkers because you're going to lose street cred.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And I'm not going to lie, almost every time we start talking about these things with a couple of my women, they damn near start crying because it's so hard to like actually love yourself and to have these things. Because then it also, you think about how it was stripped from you when you were younger.
Yeah.
A lot of us had to grow up way quicker than what we were supposed to.
Yeah. That's the fun part. You can go back and you can still do kid stuff, even if you're all grown up.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Hence all the toys I got and all the nice things. I just bought a Lego set the other day. It was $144.
Worth it. Those are so fun. I love Legos.
They are. And to you, story time. So I forced Colin. Colin's an idiot. Colin's our co-host, people. So he bought a Lego set when he was here with me, and then Heather kind of shamed him about a few things because she called him nerdy and stuff like that. I don't know. But he put it together, and he put it together within a few hours. He was so OCD about it, he couldn't wait to do it. And he would sit and we would talk to each other on Instagram, and he would just play with it and push it back and forth on the table.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. And he'd be like, you can control it.
Yeah.
So I guess because he didn't have like a place for it or something like that, he ended up selling it at a garage sale.
Yeah.
It was $50. He sold it for like $10, and then there's some pieces missing. I just thought about those kids. They got it without the pieces. I'd be so pissed. So Spencer, for the baby shower thing, he buys Colin a Lego set, and then Colin's like, "You told him I sold that shit, right?" So Spencer was like, "Don't fucking sell my thing. Like, put it together."
Yeah.
That made me think of that. When you try to be a big kid and you buy stuff, and then Colin sells it.
Yeah. Then does the adult thing with it.
Yeah. It happens. It happens a lot, man. I've had clients go to Build-A-Bear.
Yeah.
I've had clients do some fun stuff. I've had clients watch Disney shows and act. I've had clients jump in a rain puddle. I had one client that I worked with individually for maybe a year and a half, something like that. Then I put them in group therapy. And we were talking about like being kid-like and getting out of these helper, traumatized kind of roles that we were all forced into. A lot of my very successful students.
Yeah.
And the one's like, yeah, Nas made me go play in the rain once.
Honestly, so fun though. I love that.
We were at Disney World. This sounds so childlike. We were at Disney World, and it was like a monsoon.
Yeah.
So most people, it was at 8, 9 o'clock. So everyone's huddled in the middle watching all the fireworks and the light shows. You wouldn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
Everyone was stuck. So I'm like, just embrace the suck. You're going to get poured on.
Yeah.
So that was what we did. I was jumping in puddles and splashing. I mean, literally, it was a monsoon. It was like a foot of water.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
It was intense.
Oh, I think that's so fun though.
We were so after that, we went on a couple water rides because you're already wet.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot. That was a blast. I tried to get my phone out to work, but it was raining so much that it couldn't recognize my fingers.
Yeah.
It was good. It made those moments so joyful. Yeah. If you're always focused on the next thing or the anxiety of what's going to go wrong, it's a terrifying place.
Yeah.
So let's go back. We brought up the scene to maybe help some therapists or humans that are like caregiver focused to visual representation of what it's like being a therapist and taking on all that trauma. I'm not going to lie. When I touch your hand, I don't touch no one in my office. Metaphorically touch your hand or your soul. That shit sucks. And this is me being selfish and talking about me in therapy, but I want folks to say their stuff, but I'm also like, damn.
Yeah.
Say that shit for session 2.
Yeah.
I've had humans that are like, nah, that's just today. I got like a bunch of other stuff to tell you. I'm like, fuck.
You're like, oh no.
This is too much already. This is too much. And all those humans end up being fine after a little bit of therapy. Some with medication, some with group.
Yeah.
We figure it out. No one's too broken. It's not a thing being broken. I wanted to show this for counselors in compassion fatigue, for taking on that vicarious trauma. For someone like me who's neurodivergent, I tell people this, but then they also don't really understand to the depth it is. So you talk, Serena, and you're telling me about like how there's Thanksgiving stuff and all that, or right, you're telling me about clients, and so I visualize it all. I'm in my head in a house, and I see you and like the family, and
Yep.
see you
You
eating.
can like feel it.
I can
like,
see you eating the
see
mashed
it.
potatoes. Like I can damn near taste the mashed potatoes.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you go into a trauma story, I hear the visual, I hear the screams, I hear I can almost sense it. I can feel their voice vibrate and cry. Like it's just a lot that I experience. People are like, how do you do it? Well, part of me dissociates for some of it.
Yeah.
And then I let go of the emotion. I'm just experiencing it. Some parts of me hear some of it, and then I start to tune out for like a second because now I'm thinking about how to tie this all together and how to help you or soothe you. Sometimes I go into, how do we stabilize the human mode? Because now we need to check out of the story.
Yeah.
I also told someone when I was interviewing one time, they're like, how do you deal with like trauma and trauma victims? And I said, I'm good with trauma. They're like, why? I grew up in a traumatic household my entire childhood. This shit that the students are bringing to me ain't nothing. They're like, some of the stories are really bad. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
I got some stories that can match pound for pound a lot of different things. So like, why do you say this? I said, because I'm used to these very stressful environments, the fight or flight response. So when the fight or flight kicks in, I don't actually freak out. I actually start to get a little calmer.
Yeah.
It's like when that lion goes in.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, right? When a cat does it.
Yes.
I don't know if dogs do it. Do dogs do it too?
Zoned in. Some like hunting dogs.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you get zoned in. So that's a vibe. So that's why sometimes it can be more detrimental to me hearing those. I think some of mine are when I let it go too far and I'll be stewing it in the car. That's when I legit will be like, I just hope everyone dies. Like, it'd just be nice if just everyone would die. Then we wouldn't have to worry about it and there would be no suffering.
Yeah.
My brain does go there. Not often, but it does go there. It's not even an intrusive thought. I'm like, this is the most logical thought.
Yeah. No, I get that. I think everyone can relate to that. I mean, we all have experiences where it's just honestly, it's like kind of some level of desperation or hopelessness of just like exhausted with it all.
Exhausted. So you're like, fuck it. Where's the button? Do I snap my finger or do we? What God do we pray to? Is this Satan that I pray to now? Like I'm confused on where I go with this thought.
Yeah.
Some people are gonna be like, what? I don't too. So another thing to talk about is some neurodivergent folks are going to be like me, where there's a lot of visuals, or they're very just sensory, and the empathy is just a lot. A lot of our clients that we work with, Serena, some of them are more empathetic, where they just cry. I've told stories to some students, and they'll just start crying throughout the story because I'm a good storyteller when I want to be. Not so much as here because I'm more pressured to speak here faster. So I can't do all my voice changes. But it's kind of cool when you see these humans tanking your stories. And they're not bad stories. They're usually stories on something, and they'll cry. Sometimes they cry to movies. Sometimes my humans just cry because they cry and they don't even know why. Those are the ones that usually get burned out quicker than the others.
Yeah.
Hurts more. Everything's just heightened. Where someone like Colin, you can tell him all the crazy shit in the world. He'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
It's in there. He just doesn't feel it as raw as maybe you or I would.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we're all have different levels of kind of ability of empathy.
Yep. Some people it's more cognitive. Some of us have more mirroring neurons than others, and thus we feel things more. We experience them more. So there's more connections in our synapses somewhere in our brain that's at the empathy. It's a thing.
Yeah.
I think the scene that's coming out tomorrow, which will be the 28th, will be the Lion King. This will be the live action Lion King when Mufasa dies and Simba's like,
No.
so I had to edit that thing like 50 times because it kept getting blocked on YouTube. Oh my God. My father would walk out of the room and he'd just look at me and I'm just sitting there like just sobbing. Jeez.
Yeah, that one's brutal. And that one is like what's the word? I'm like nostalgic. It hits you in like the childlike feelings. You're like, ah.
Oh, look. That's Spencer the other day got so jealous of our podcast that we did, the 3, because I did the heart attack thing.
Yeah.
And then the other day I did with him. He's like, oh, the first time I've seen this live. So the other day, Colin ditched me on Thanksgiving because Heather was sick. She didn't want to get my dad sick. So they ditched us for Thanksgiving. And then Spencer's like, I guess we're your new favorite couple, right? He's like, tell me I am, Nas. And I faked a heart attack. Ah!
I love it.
So you just did your own little fake heart attack thing. What was that? Oh.
Yeah, right in the feels.
We're gonna have to do that with your partner. Your kids ask you a serious question. Yep, baby emotions.
Roll out of the scenario.
Yep. Indigestion. Ah.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Anything you wanted to cap off today?
No, honestly, I think that covered it, at
Thoroughly.
least from my end.
Yep. Compassion, therapists, clients, RAs. We talked about that. We talked about some strategies and boundaries. We talked about also identifying when these things are coming up for you. So specifically when I get more nihilistic, for you when you tend to get a little bit more nasty or intrusive or paranoid, nastier with your thoughts. For me, it's nasty with thoughts, but like more volatile.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
just let it
A
burn.
little spice in those thoughts.
Oh yeah, it's like a little ember in a fire,
Yeah.
and if I throw gas on it, poof, now it's a forest fire, and I'm like, no, let's not do some of these things. The world is okay.
Yes.
This is when I have to channel my inner Optimus Prime when he's like, the humans are a good people,
Yes.
and I'm just like, but we could just get destroyed by an asteroid and things would be better. I'm like, no.
No.
Don't fight it, Nas. Because I'm not the little pocket of the world of a therapist. This is what I'll end on. Humans will come to me all the time. This is only me. This is only happening to me. I'm like, no, I've seen this with maybe 5 people I'm working with right now. They're like, no way. Literally the same exact thing we were talking about was the human right before you.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. They said, no way. I said, yes. It's very normal.
Yeah.
But in my world, it's normal. In your world, it's not normal because, everyone looks like they're happy. I said, surprise, everyone's fucking miserable.
I tell people that all
I know
the
you
time.
do.
I really do. I'm like, it's a facade. Don't trust it.
Don't
like,
trust
we all
it.
have issues.
It's the Matrix. It's like on Instagram. So if people follow Instagram, it's a lot of the reels. Some of them are going to be funny. Some of them are going to be therapeutic, right? And then you're going to have us individual chopped up of the pods behind the thumbnail. But my story's all memes. Most of my story's all memes and like funny stuff. I'm not trying to be this go-to wizard of therapy. I'm not trying to be the nicest, kindest person. I'm not selling you anything on there. You give a shit what you think about me or my page. Mm-hmm. My page is for the folks that don't understand emotions.
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 Love it.
And that feel unheard or unseen, and they relate through movies.
Yep.
My people are going to be super nerdy and the awkward and outcasts. In saying that, you better come appropriate on the Instagram. I very rarely block people, but I blocked a few in the last couple of days. And I'm like,
I'll do it.
I'm like, no, because I'm protecting my people that follow me.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this is weird.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up, we've got all of December almost already booked, where we've got Rudolph, Jingle All the Way, Die Hard, Elf, The Grinch. Then we're going to throw a couple more Star Wars in there. Lion King's hitting tomorrow. We're going to have some older movies that come up as well. And then we're going to try and get some more anime or cartoons to come in. So it's a very busy December. So everyone, enjoy the pod. Continue to share, like,
Share, like, comment,
and subscribe.
"Oh."
Well, I knew you'd catch one of them.
I got that dial-up brain sometimes.
Yeah, you got what was it? AOL. That was on the phone. I remember that, yelling at my brother, "Get off the fucking internet!"
Yes.
Jesus Christ! I don't know who I was calling. I was 5 years old.
You had important people to talk to.
Yeah, I have someone to call. I'm like, what the fuck do I care? I remember we had those really long phone line cords too.
Totally.
Those were just fun to play with. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'd always like, or like the stretch. I would always like wrap it around my finger.
Yep.
Just,
Oh yeah, my ours was so long you wrap it around your whole head.
yes.
Yeah, a lot of things get broken.
Yeah.
All right, people. Much love, much respect. Stay tuned. Different Spectrums out. Was that cool? Was that
Super cool.
Okay,
Finger guns are the coolest.
Okay.
Everyone knows that.
all right.